Good evening from Oak Hill Country Club here in Rochester, New York, where Brooks Koepka has just won the 2023 PGA Championship. And here are three things that we learned today. Number one is pretty obvious. Brooks Koepka certainly appears to be back. After a year and a half to 2 years of really nagging injuries, Koepka was able to capture his fifth major championship and his third PGA Championship in dramatic fashion. He looked enforcing. He looked great right from the get-go. Koepka made birdies at 2, 3, and 4. After making bogeys at 6 and 7, he was able to come back on the back nine and score birdies at 10, 12, 14, 16. By that time, he had a very large lead. He had a pretty inconsequential bogey that happened at 17, which gave him still a large cushion coming down the home stretch. Many of the players who were pursuing him simply pressed, and in some cases, pressed it a little too much. Victor Hovland did a really good job throughout much of the day staying with Koepka. However, a double bogey at the 16th hole really ended up being his undoing. As it turns out, Scottie Scheffler probably ended up losing this golf tournament on Saturday. That 73 and that really rough start, being 4 over par through his first 7 holes, that simply ended up creating too much of a deficit for the Masters champion from 2022 to be able to overcome. After Hovland's unfortunate double bogey, Koepka basically had the tournament. He was able to put it on cruise control, play smart, conservative golf, and that was good enough to give him his third Wanamaker trophy. The second thing we learned is that while Brooks Koepka is the winner of the 2023 PGA Championship, the man who stole the show was undoubtedly Michael Block. The PGA of America professional who teaches out of the Arroyo Trabuco Golf Club in Mission Viejo, California, basically had the crowd eating out of his hand. After rounds of 70, 70, and 70 through the first 3 days, he was paired with Rory McIlroy and proceeded to basically have the time of his life. Did he play perfect golf? Absolutely not. But his 71 was good enough to give him a tie for 15th place. That means he's automatically in next year's PGA Championship. And he absolutely created the biggest roar of the tournament when he made a hole-in-one with a little 7-iron shot on the 15th hole. I had a chance before the round started to watch Block interacting with a lot of fans, signing autographs, doing a tremendous job of interacting with all the people here at Oak Hill. He really did an amazing job of soaking up the entire experience. It was great to see. He had everybody pulling for him. And the third thing that we learned here this week at Oak Hill is that live golfers can definitely compete at major championships. As you recall, back at the Masters, both Phil Mickelson and Brooks Koepka were right down into the running until Jon Rahm was able to win it. And obviously here this week, we see Brooks Koepka winning the Wanamaker Trophy. If you take a look down the leaderboard, you also had Bryson DeChambeau tying for 4th. Cam Smith shot 65 on Sunday. He ends up tied for 9th. Patrick Reed and Mito Pereira also tied for 18th. Dustin Johnson ended up fading down the stretch to a T55, and Phil Mickelson was T58 after a pretty disappointing Sunday. This is one of the things that a lot of people were wondering. When live golfers went over to a format that was 54 holes, no cuts, would they be able to keep their competitive edge? Would they be able to come into the crucible that is major championship competition and be able to contend? And it would certainly seem that at least for a few of them, the answer is a resounding yes. The biggest challenge for many live golfers now is going to be trying to maintain world ranking points and positions to keep themselves qualified for what will be the major championships in 2024. Golfers who compete on the live tour are running out of places where they can compete and play on a regular basis and still collect world ranking points. So that's going to be one of the really hot button issues that's going to stay at the forefront throughout the rest of 2023. Thanks once again for joining us here all week at Oak Hill Country Club, and congratulations to Brooks Koepka on winning the 2023 PGA Championship.